You know that feeling, that weight,
Oh,
a
go.
demanding boss maybe, or colleagues whose words just sting.
Yeah.
That pressure where you want to say something, but you just can't.
Or maybe it's quiet or like just the slow, draining routine that feels like, oh, like a dead end.
Exactly. If any of that sounds familiar to you, then you're in the right place for this deep dive.
Welcome. Today we're really getting into the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. He's a thinker who, well, he didn't exactly shy away from the hard stuff in life.
Definitely not.
And our aim here is to give you, listening, a different angle, a way to not just, put up with pressure, but maybe even use it, turn it into something.
That's it. Taking that pain, that feeling of being swamped, and actually forging strength from it. I mean, Nietzsche himself said it, right? That which does not kill us makes us stronger.
It's a famous line,
Yeah.
very bold statement.
And today we're going to unpack what that really means, how it could possibly work in, your life.
So to do that, we'll be looking at some key Nietzschean ideas, things like master and slave morality,
Right.
his big statement, God is dead, what that implies for finding your own way. And we'll even try to connect this to the context of Buddhism here in Thailand.
Okay, so let's back up a bit. Who was this guy? Friedrich Nietzsche. Born in Germany, 1844. Clearly brilliant, intellectually gifted from a young age.
But his life wasn't smooth sailing. Not at all. He dealt with a lot. Chronic illness, profound isolation.
And eventually, tragically, a complete mental breakdown.
Right. And it's crucial to get that his philosophy wasn't just dreamed up in an ivory tower. It grew out of grappling with intense personal hardship and pain.
You feel that when you read him. It's not just abstract theory.
No, he saw himself, I think, as offering tools for navigating this messy, complex world. He even called himself, what was it, dynamite.
Dynamite. Yeah, you can see why. His ideas definitely shake things up.
Okay, so let's detonate one of those famous ideas.
Go ahead.
God is dead from the gay science.
Now, this throws people sometimes. He didn't mean a literal, deity had just died.
No, not literally. What he was pointing to was the way modern science, rational thought, had chipped away at humanity's reliance on traditional religion for answers, for meaning.
So the framework was weakening.
Exactly. It created a kind of vacuum, potentially, a loss of that taken-for-granted purpose that religion often provided.
Which leads where?
Well, it's a big part of the start of existentialism, really. If those old maps for meaning aren't reliable anymore, then the task falls to us, to you.
To create our own meaning, to find our own values.
Precisely. So a first practical thought for you listening might just be, if there's no pre-written script for meaning, what actually feels meaningful to me right now? It's a big question.
Huge. And to get deeper into his answers or his way of thinking, knowing his main works helps. Like, Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Right, which is this amazing blend, part novel, part poetry, part philosophy, with this character, Zarathustra, teaching, self-overcoming, becoming stronger.
And then there's, on the genealogy of morality, that's where he really digs into those master-slave morality ideas we mentioned.
And Twilight of the Idols, that's the source of that what doesn't kill us.
Okay, so lots of heavy stuff there.
Yeah.
But the key for us today, for this deep dive, is making it practical.
Absolutely. We're not just doing academic history here. We want to take these powerful, sometimes, intense concepts and see how you can use them when you're feeling that pressure, feeling put down, or just stuck.
Right, so we've sifted through his work and pulled out 6 sort of core ideas that seem especially relevant.
Yeah.
We'll break each one down.
And show how it might apply. Dealing with work stress, tricky colleagues, feeling like you're in a rut.
Yeah, with some real-life type examples. And we'll touch on those links to morality, religion, maybe the Thai context too. So let's jump in with that first one, the big one.
Let's do it. That line from Twilight of the Idols, that which does not kill me makes me stronger.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the core idea, as I see it, is that difficulties, challenges, they aren't just bad things to get through, they're actual fuel, opportunities.
Uh-huh. Opportunities for growth. When you face something hard and you navigate it, you don't just snap back to how you were. You've learned. You've built resilience.
It ties into his idea of the will to power, right? That inner drive we have to overcome to grow, to become more.
Exactly. Think about, say, getting really harsh feedback from your boss at work. It can feel crushing, right? Undermining.
Totally.
But a Nietzschean lens might suggest reframing it. Okay, this feels bad, but what's the lesson here? Even if the delivery was terrible.
Maybe it shows where I need to skill up. Or maybe it teaches me how to, I don't know, stand up for my work better.
Precisely. The pain, if you work with it, can lead to becoming more competent, more self-aware. It makes you stronger.
Okay, let's make it concrete. Imagine someone, let's call her Annette. Her boss is just relentless,
Yeah.
micromanaging, never satisfied, zero praise,
Mm-hmm.
feels totally stressed, doubts her abilities.
Exhausted.
Yeah. But if Hangel applies this idea, she might start asking different questions. Not just why me, but okay, what's this pressure teaching me about my industry, about handling difficult people, about my own boundaries?
That shift in perspective is key.
It moves her from feeling like just a victim to someone actively learning.
Hmm.
Maybe she improves communication, maybe she sets boundaries, maybe she even realizes, hey, this place is toxic, and that's the lesson time to find something better. That's a stronger move.
So for Tinga, or for you listening, facing something similar, what's a practical takeaway?
Reflection, I think.
Yeah.
Seriously. After something tough happens, don't just push it away. Take 5 minutes. What actually occurred? What did I do? What did I learn? What skill did I use? Even if it felt clumsy.
Pre-challenges like what? Mental gym workout.
Yeah, exactly. Building that resilience muscle.
So for you listening right now, can you recall a time, maybe something that felt awful then, but looking back, you see how it actually shaped you, made you stronger? That's this idea in action.
Okay, moving to core concept number 2. This one's from Zarathustra. In man, there is both chaos and dancing star. Such a cool image.
It really is. It's a way of looking at our inner world. Nietzsche's saying, look, inside each of us, there's chaos, you
Right.
know, fear, anger, confusion, all that messy stuff.
Uh-huh.
But there's also the dancing star. That's our potential for brilliance, creativity, joy, insight.
And his point isn't to get rid of the chaos.
No, don't fear it, don't suppress it, because that very chaos, those darker emotions, they can be the source of incredible energy, drive,
Mm.
creativity.
Okay, how does that play out? Like, say you're feeling intense pressure at work, deadline looming, difficult client.
Yeah.
You feel that anxiety, maybe anger bubbling up.
Right. Instead of just trying to shove those feelings down, Nietzsche would say, listen to them. What are they telling you? That anxiety, maybe it sharpens your focus, gets you moving.
And the anger, maybe it fuels you to push back, to negotiate, to advocate for what you need.
Exactly. You channel the energy. Let's think of someone else. Joe often feels ignored or maybe even subtly mocked in meetings, feels frustrating, maybe resentful.
Yeah, that happens.
Instead of just stewing in that chaos, Joe could use it. Channel that frustration into, say, preparing super thoroughly for the next meeting, or maybe using that energy to speak up more forcefully, or even deciding to look for projects where their voice is heard.
So the negative feeling becomes the engine for positive change. The dancing star emerges from the chaos.
That's the idea. So practically, how can you work with this, with your own inner chaos and star?
Well, maybe start by just acknowledging the feeling, not judging it. Like, okay, I feel angry or confused. Why? What triggered it?
And then asking, okay, feeling this, what positive action could it fuel? How can I use this energy instead of letting it just swirl around or drag me down?
It's about transformation.
Mm-hmm. So for you listening, think about a recent moment of feeling maybe confused or frustrated or anxious. Did that feeling eventually lead you to do something different, to create something? What dancing star came out of it for you?
Okay, third concept, also from Zarathustra, and this one hits home for a lot of people. Become what you are.
Yes. This feels so relevant today, doesn't it? With social media, societal expectations.
Totally. We're constantly getting messages about who we should be. Nietzsche's saying, wait a minute. We often wear masks. We try to fit molds that aren't really us.
He's pushing us to shed those layers, to find and embrace our authentic selves, our unique individuality, even the quirky bits.
Even the parts we might feel judged for.
Especially those, perhaps. And he acknowledges it takes courage, real courage to face your own stuff and maybe go against what others expect.
Think about times you felt, I don't know, criticized for not quite fitting the mold, being told you're not good enough by someone else's standards.
Nietzsche's call here is basically reject those external definitions. Look inward. What are your strengths? Your genuine passions? Your real desires?
It's about living in alignment with that, not with the script someone else wrote for you.
Let's imagine, maybe Boost works in a sensible job the family approves of, but secretly dreams of being, say, a freelance cafe owner, something totally different.
Right.
Becoming what you are for Jude isn't necessarily quitting the job tomorrow. It might be taking small, consistent steps towards that dream. Researching cafes, taking a business course online.
Even if people raise eyebrows.
Even then, it's about honoring that inner voice, that authentic desire.
So practical steps to start becoming what you are.
Self-reflection is huge here, like consistently checking in what truly lights me up, what feels genuinely me, regardless of external validation.
And maybe practicing boundaries, saying no to things that feel draining or inauthentic.
That's a big one, saying no to make space for your yes,
Yeah.
even if it's uncomfortable at first.
Okay, listener question time. Have you ever done something that felt truly authentically you, even if it was scary? Or is there something you're longing to do, but maybe fear of judgment is holding you back?
Our fourth concept is deep. Amor fati, love of fate. You find this in Zarathustra and also later in Ecce Homo.
Amor fati, love of fate. It sounds passive, like just accepting whatever happens.
It can sound that way, but it's more active than that. It's not just resignation, it's about embracing everything. Everything that's happened in your life, the good, the bad, the joy, the suffering, as necessary, as part of your unique story.
So not wishing things were different.
Exactly. It's saying yes to your actual life, including the hard parts, because all of it has forged you into who you are right now. Seeing challenges not as mistakes or roadblocks to complain about, but as essential ingredients.
That seems incredibly useful when you're feeling, beaten down by circumstances, pressured, oppressed.
Right. Instead of getting stuck in, why did this happen to me, or resentment, Amor Fati encourages you to weave even the hardships into your narrative. They built your resilience. They taught you things.
Okay, an example. Let's say Yaga Kanka works hard on a project, but a colleague steals the credit.
Ugh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The natural reaction is anger, injustice. But applying amor fati wouldn't mean saying, oh, that's fine. It might mean acknowledging, okay, this happened. It's part of my story now. What does it teach me?
Maybe it teaches document their work better next time, or to be more assertive in claiming contributions. Or maybe it reveals something about the workplace culture.
So you accept it happened, you learn from it, and you use it as fuel rather than just letting it poison you with resentment.
That's the essence. So how do we cultivate this love of fate?
One way might be gratitude practice, but specifically for the difficult times, what strength did that past hardship give you? What did you learn?
And reframing your story. Seeing yourself not as a victim of bad luck, but as someone who's faced things and is still standing, maybe even stronger for it.
Changing the inner monologue.
Mm-hmm. So for you listening, is there a past challenge, something painful then, that you can now look back on and feel, well, maybe not happy about it, but grateful for what it taught you, how it contributed to who you are now?
All right, concept number 5. This takes us into Nietzsche's critique of morality, master and slave morality, from On, the Genealogy of Morality.
Yeah, this one's often debated, can be controversial, but it's really thought-provoking. Nietzsche basically proposed 2 fundamental types of moral system.
Okay, what's the first?
Master morality. He saw this as originating from the strong, the self-confident, the leaders. Their values center on things like pride, power, excellence, creativity, health, courage. They define good as what affirms their own life and strength.
Okay, so good is basically what is like me, what enhances my power.
In a simplified way, yes. Then there's slave morality. He argued this arises from those who are or feel weak, oppressed, resentful.
The opposite group.
Right. And their values tend to develop in reaction to the masters. So instead of strength, they might value things like pity, humility, patience, kindness, equality, and they often define the master's values, pride, strength, as evil.
So it's a morality born from resentment, saying those powerful people are bad, therefore the opposite must be good.
That was Nietzsche's critique. He saw slave morality as reactive, often driven by a no to the values of the powerful rather than a yes to its own inherent strengths.
And he thought this slave morality had become dominant in the West, especially through religion.
Yes, he was critical of how certain interpretations of Christianity, for example, seemed to elevate qualities like meekness and self-sacrifice, which he saw as potentially life-denying or stemming from weakness and resentment rather than strength. He felt it could weaken the individual's spirit.
Important clarification. He wasn't saying compassion or kindness are inherently bad, was he?
No, it's more about the origin and function of the value system. Is it coming from a place of strength and self-affirmation, or from resentment and a feeling of powerlessness? His big push was for us to question where our values come from. Are they truly our own? Do they help us grow?
Okay, so how do we use this idea when we feel pressured to conform maybe or resentful of authority?
It starts with examining your own judgments. When you feel something is right or wrong, ask yourself, why? Where did I learn this value? Does it genuinely empower me and affirm life? Or is it maybe a reaction, an inherited belief I haven't really questioned?
Let's think about that and work in a super rigid, top-down company where nobody dares question the boss.
Okay.
Applying master morality there wouldn't necessarily mean staging a rebellion. It might mean
Yeah.
deciding to value their own judgment, their own expertise.
Right. And finding ways to act on that, maybe speaking up constructively, presenting data to back up a different approach, acting from that inner sense of this is good, this is right, based on my competence, rather than just towing the line out of fear.
Acting from internal validation, not just external pressure.
That's a good way to put it. So practically.
Maybe list some core values you hold.
Mm-hmm.
Then, for each one, trace its roots. Ask, did I choose this? Does it make me stronger, more alive? Or did I just absorb it?
It's about becoming conscious of the source code of your own morality.
Yeah. So for you listening, have you ever felt you had to follow certain rules or values that didn't really feel right for you? How can you start questioning those and defining what feels authentically good to you?
Okay, final core concept, number 6. Circling back to God is dead from the gay science.
We touched on this, the decline of traditional religions hold as the primary source of meaning.
Right. And Nietzsche saw this not just as a historical observation, but as a profound challenge. If the old anchor is gone, if that ultimate meaning giver isn't universally accepted anymore, well, that can lead to nihilism, right? A feeling that nothing matters.
The void.
The void. But Nietzsche didn't want us to just fall into it. The challenge, the opportunity, is to create meaning ourselves, actively, instead of waiting for it to be handed down.
And this is where the connection to Thailand and Buddhism gets interesting.
It really does. Buddhism is obviously central to Thai culture. Now, some interpretations of concepts like, say, detachment or letting go, if taken to an extreme, could be viewed through a Nietzschean lens as bordering on passive acceptance, maybe resembling aspects of that slave morality if it means not resisting injustice.
But that's a specific interpretation, right?
Mm.
Thai Buddhism is diverse.
Absolutely. It's incredibly nuanced. And Thailand is constitutional secular. There's no single state religion, and religious practice is varied. So you can't just make a blanket statement.
So how does Nietzsche's call to create meaning fit in that specific cultural context?
Well, again, Nietzsche wasn't anti-belief. He was anti-uncritical belief, pro-thinking for yourself. So for someone practicing Buddhism in Thailand, God is dead, in this broader sense of declining traditional authority, might be less about abandoning faith and more about engaging with it actively.
Like really asking, how does this belief function in my life? Does it empower me? Does it help me grow strong, face challenges? Or does it encourage passivity in ways that don't serve me or others?
Exactly. It's about finding personal resonance and purpose, maybe even within that tradition, but doing so consciously.
Yeah.
Taking ownership of your interpretation and your values. You could absolutely be a Buddhist and still embrace Nietzsche's call to define your own goals and fight for what you believe is right.
Okay, so let's imagine someone maybe working a stable office job, feels unfulfilled, kind of numb, maybe influenced by teachings, emphasizing patience, accepting things as they are.
Right. Creating personal meaning for us might involve acknowledging those teachings, but also saying, okay, but my spirit also needs creative expression. Maybe pursuing art on the side, finding meaning in that act of creation, even while respecting core beliefs. It's about integration, not necessarily rejection.
Finding your why beyond just acceptance.
Yes. So practical steps here.
Maybe journaling. Writing down, what actually gives my life a sense of purpose right now? What goals, even small ones, could I set for myself that feel exciting and meaningful to me?
And gently questioning teachings, not necessarily dismissing them, but asking, how does this apply to me? Does it lift me up or hold me back?
So the question for you, listener, wherever you are, what brings meaning to your life today? And looking forward, how could you consciously create even more of it?
So pulling these threads together, Nietzsche's critique of morality, his ideas about religion, they push us towards self-reliance, towards questioning.
Yeah, and in the Thai context, it's not about pitting Nietzsche against Buddhism, but maybe using his lens to ask how Buddhist principles like detachment are interpreted. Does it mean passive resignation, or can it coexist with fighting for justice, with creating your own path? That independent thought is key.
Exactly. The flexibility is often there within traditions. Nietzsche just encourages us to actively find it and use it to build a life of purpose defined by ourselves.
Okay, so we've gone through these 6 core ideas. Think of them as like a Nietzschean toolkit.
A toolkit for resilience, yeah. For facing those pressures, the boss, the colleagues, the rut with a different mindset.
So how can our listeners start using this toolkit like tomorrow. Concrete first steps.
Pick one idea that really clicked for you, just one. Then think about a specific challenge you have right now. Try looking at it through that specific Nietzschean lens. Does it shift anything?
Like if amor fati resonated, look at a current frustration and ask, okay, accepting this happened, what can I learn from it?
Or if become what you are, hit home, maybe identify one small action you can take this week that feels more authentically you.
And maybe just practice questioning one assumption, one value you hold. Just ask, where did this come from? Does it still serve me?
It's all about activating that inner strength, right?
Mhm.
Recognizing that potential for your own dancing star, even when things feel chaotic. Taking ownership.
So let's leave you with this final thought to chew on.
If today, right now, was your absolute last chance to make a change, to live more authentically, what would you do differently?
Would you finally have that conversation with the demanding boss? Would you take that first step towards the dream you keep putting off?
Nietzsche urged us to affirm life, to say yes to it all. The power to make it meaningful ultimately lies with you.
If this deep dive got you thinking, we really recommend checking out Nietzsche's work directly. Thus Spoke Zarathustra is amazing but dense. Twilight of the Idols might be a more accessible starting point, or on the genealogy of morality for those morality ideas.
And please share your own stories with us. How have you overcome pressure? What steps are you taking to create your own meaning? Your experiences could really inspire someone else listening. Drop a comment or send us a message.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Friedrich Nietzsche. We genuinely hope it's given you some empowering ideas.
If you found it valuable, please subscribe. Share it with friends or colleagues who might benefit too.
And we look forward to exploring another fascinating topic with you in our next deep dive.